Hello, students, and welcome to our lesson. It's June 3rd. We're going to respond to our prompt about something fun, National Repeat Day. We are also, I'm going to make my line a little bit thicker so we can see it better. Our objective will be a review of solving quadratics only by factoring and square roots today. You've got 2 pages. One of them you will do on your own. I'll do the first one with you. One of them would be your homework. It's homework number 1 to 10, but I think you might have time to do some of that in class today. Remember, you need to show me your work if you're in person. If you are not in person, you can just show me your work or you can send me an email picture. I'm not going to put an assignment in for this. Just remember, grades close soon and make sure you've completed everything. So this is National Repeat Day, really. Some things are worth repeating, like a good movie or a yummy dessert. I would like you to surprise a friend or 2 or 3 by saying something nice twice. Who will you repeat a kindness to today? Repeating, isn't that fun? Just something fun. So you've been doing a lot with quadratics. So we're going to take a look at these problems here. We're going to do, I think, about 10 problems today, and then I'm going to leave you to do the rest on your own. So method 1 we're going to work with is factoring. So we need 2 numbers that add to -6 and multiply to 40. And that would be a -10 and a +4, because that when you combine those, they add to -6. And when you multiply them, you would have -40. So we're going to have x minus 10 x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 10 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. So in the first case, on the left, x equals 10, and the second case, x equals -4. So our answer set is -4, 10. Number 2, we have x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 0. We need 2 numbers that add to -14 and multiply to +49. So we need 2 negative numbers, and that would be -7, -7. So x minus 7 times x minus 7 equals 0. Do our little ninja trick here. X minus 7 equals 0. Same on both sides. And that would mean that x equals 7 in both cases. So our solution set is simply one number, 7. Number 3, we have to subtract x squared from each side, which will give us 9x squared minus 25 equals 0. And I hope you recognize that this is a difference of squares. So with a difference of squares, we're looking at the square root of 9x squared is 3x, and the square root of 25 is 5. So we just write 3x plus 5, remember this, and 3x minus 5 equals 0. And we solve both of those. 3x plus 5 equals 0. 3x equals -5, and x equals -5 over 3. 3x minus 5 equals 0. We add 5 to both sides, which gives us a little cleaner looking. We add 5 to both sides. That means 3x equals 5. We divide both sides by 3, and x equals +5 over 3. So our solution set, -5 over 3, comma, positive 5 over 3. And number 12, 4, 12x squared plus 8x equals 0. We can factor out from this. Always look for a greatest common factor. We do have a greatest common factor of 4x. When we factor that out, we are left with 3x plus 2 equals 0. And where 4x equals 0, x equals 0. So it looks like this parabola crosses the y-axis at the x-axis at the origin. And then 3x plus 2 equals 0. We move 2 to the other side. 3x equals negative 2. And x equals negative 2 divided by 3. So our answer set, x equals negative 2 divided by 3, or 0. Number 5, we need to move that 26x over, and that means it will become negative. So we have 2x squared minus 26x plus 80 equals 0. And I would factor a 2 out of that, which will give you x squared minus 13x plus 40 equals 0. And we're looking for two numbers that add to negative 13 and multiply to 40. That would be a negative 8 and a negative 5. So we have 2 times x minus 8, x minus 5 equals 0. Let's set that all equal to 0. So 2 cannot be equal to 0, so we've got a false statement there. We can ignore that. X minus 8 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. So here x equals 8, a positive 8. And on the right side, x equals a positive 5. So our answer set, or our solution set, x equals 5, 8. And now we have a slip and slide one. Remember that? So we're going to take 4, slip it over, and multiply it by 1, which will give us x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. So we're going to factor that, and we need two numbers that add to 5 and multiply to 4. So that would be a positive 4 and a positive 1. So x plus 4, x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to change the color for a minute. Before we get there, I almost forgot to slide. So I'm going to take the original 4 right here, and I'm going to slide it under each of these. Where I can simplify, I will. And in the first case, on the left side, I can simplify to x plus 1. But on the right side, I cannot, so the denominator comes up in front of the x for 4x plus 1 equals 0. Now, I will solve all of these for x. So x plus 1 equals 0, x equals negative 1. 4x plus 1 equals 0. 4x equals negative 1, and x equals negative 1 over 4. So our solution set is x equals negative 1, negative 1 over 4. So that's it for the factoring review. Now we're going to do 4 problems using square roots. So I'm just going to rewrite the first problem, number 7. And those are both perfect squares, fortunately. So I can take the square root of each one of those, and x will equal plus or minus 15. So I can write it as a solution set, negative 15, positive 15. And those are not the best looking brackets I've ever written. Brackets are squiggly and hard. Okay, 4x squared minus 1 equals 48. I think the first thing I want to do is divide both sides by 4. And let's move the 1 over. Let's move the 1 over first, because I like what happens when we do that. You got to pay some attention to them. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. And then we will have 4x squared equals 49. We like that. Let's divide everything by 4 so we can isolate the x squared. So now we've isolated x squared equals 49 over 4. So now we're going to take the square root of each side. And remember, we can take the square root of 49 over the square root of 4. So what we have on the left side is x equals plus or minus the square root of 49 is 7, the square root of 4 is 2. So let's write that in set notation. So we have set negative 7 over 2, comma, positive 7 over 2. So in the next problem, we'll add 3 to each side. And when we do that, our right side will equal 98. Our left side will be x squared. And when we take the square root of both sides, let's change the color to do this. Of course, the left side is easy, but we need to think of 98 as a multiple of a perfect square and something else. So let's think of 98 as 49, which is a perfect square, times 2. So what we're going to have is, let's still have the square root of x squared at this point equals the square root of 49 times the square root of 2. Well, the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 49 is 7. So we're going to have our plus or minus 7. The square root of 2 we leave as a square root. So we just write this as an answer set. So let's start with the negative 7 times the square root of 2, and then the positive 7 times the square root of 2. And that's it. That's an irrational one. And number 10 is also irrational. So the first thing I want to do is subtract 1 from each side, and that will leave me with 3/4 x squared equals 30. So I need to isolate that x. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. And then now I have x squared on the left, and on the right, I have 30 times 4/3 is 40. So now I will take the square root of each side, And I'm going to think of 40 as 4 times 10. Okay. And 4 is a perfect square. So that will be x squared. I'll take the square root of that. And then I'll take the square root of 4 times the square root of 10, which will give me x equals plus or minus 2 times the square root of 10. And all I need to do at this point is write that in set notation. And my work is finished. So, if you have time left in class, start these next few problems, or you can leave them for homework tonight. I'd like to see you do a few. Make sure you do some on your own and then check your work. So good job. I'm going to repeat to you, I'm proud, proud, proud of how hard you're working. Because remember, with practice, you'll be great.